My name is Paige Bryant, a 28-year-old programmer living on my own in downtown Memphis, Tennessee. I thought I'd built a life free from my family's grip, but one October night at a tense family dinner in their suburban home, everything changed. My dad slammed his fist on the table, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. "You owe this family. Sign the $270,000 loan for your brother's house now." Silence fell. I felt the weight of 8 pairs of eyes, my mom, my little sister, and others, all expecting me to cave. My brother sat back, a smug grin spreading across his face. They thought they had me cornered, that I'd bend like I always had. But I was done being their ATM. I leaned forward, locked eyes with my dad, and smiled. "If family is everything I said," my voice steady, "then I'm just returning what you all taught me." That moment sparked a firestorm I never saw coming. It wasn't just about the money, it was about control, betrayal, and the lies they'd spin to keep me in line. What happened next would unravel everything they thought they could hold over me. Want to know how far my family went to break me? Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to find out. That night at the dinner table wasn't my first clash with my family's demands. It was just the loudest. I'm Paige Bryant, and for years I'd been their go-to fix for every financial mess, with nothing but empty words in return. It started a few years after I landed my first programming job. Dad called one evening, his voice gruff. "The power bill's overdue. You've got a good job, so pitch in." I sent $400 thinking it was a one-time thing. But soon it was water bills, gas, even their cable subscription. Every month Mom would text, "We're tight this week. Can you help?" I wired the money, believing I was doing right by family. Then came the big ask, covering my little sister's college tuition. "Zoe needs this," Mom said, her tone heavy with expectation. "You wouldn't let her down, would you?" I paid thousands to her university, draining my savings, hoping it'd mean something to them. My older brother, Cole Bryant, took it to another level. He'd roll up in a brand new truck or jet off to Cancun, always with some grand story about investing in his future. One time, he bragged about dropping $7,000 on a business conference that was just a party in New Orleans. Dad Dennis Bryant would nod proudly. "Cole's got vision." Mom Kathleen Bryant would smile and say, "He's just finding his way." Meanwhile, I was the one keeping the lights on. When I asked why Cole never chipped in, Dad shut me down. "You're stable, Paige. Don't make a fuss." The pattern kept growing. A couple of years back, they hit me with a family crisis. They needed $10,000, no questions asked. I sent it only to learn later it funded Cole's new boat. When I confronted Mom, she brushed it off. "You're doing fine. Let your brother live a little." That cut deep. I was working overtime, coding until dawn to stay afloat, while Cole partied without a care. They never asked about my life. No, "How's your job?" Or, "You holding up?" Just another text. "We need $600 by tomorrow." Zoe, my little sister Zoe Bryant, started following their lead. A year ago, she called Sis. "I need $400 for textbooks." I sent it, then saw her Instagram filled with concert photos, sporting new sneakers. When I brought it up, Mom snapped, "Zoe's young. She deserves some fun." I felt like a fool. Every dollar I gave was a transaction, not a bond. The worst came last year. Cole pitched a business idea to Dad and Mom, a startup that sounded like a scam from the start. They co-signed a loan for him, and when it crashed, they turned to me. "You've got to help us clean this up," Dad said, his voice sharp. I said no for the first time, and the silence on the other end was deafening. Mom's next call was softer but pointed. "Family doesn't abandon family, Paige." But I was starting to see it. They weren't my family. They were users. All those years, I thought giving meant belonging. I'd sit in my apartment, checking my bank account, wondering why I felt so hollow. They praised Cole's reckless dreams, excused Zoe's carelessness, and leaned on me without a second thought. Every call was a reminder I was their safety net, not their daughter. I started pulling back, ignoring their requests, letting their voicemails stack up. But they didn't stop. That's when Mom's call came, vague and urgent, about an important family matter. I should have seen it coming, but I went to that dinner, hoping for something different. Realizing I was never truly part of my family didn't break me, it pushed me to carve out my own path. And by the time that October rolled around, I'd built a life I was proud of, one line of code at a time. My career as a programmer started small debugging scripts for a local startup in Memphis. I worked my way up, taking on freelance gigs, then landing a full-time role at a tech firm downtown. I loved the rush of solving problems, turning chaos into clean, functional apps. My latest project was a mobile app for a retail chain, a 6-month grind that paid off with a promotion and a corner desk. Living in a sleek apartment in the heart of Memphis, I could finally breathe. No roommates, no family breathing down my neck, just me, my laptop, and a view of the city skyline. I'd fought hard for that independence, paying my own way, while others leaned on me. But the shadow of my family lingered. A few months ago, I started pulling back, ignoring their calls for money. Their voicemails piled up, each one sharper than the last. My brother Cole Bryant was the worst. In recent meetings, he'd been cagey, dropping hints about big plans that sounded like his usual schemes. Once at a coffee shop, he showed up in a tailored suit talking about a real estate deal but dodging details when I pressed. His smirk felt off, like he was sizing me up. I brushed it off, but it gnawed at me. Then came the call from Mom Kathleen Bryant. It was a Tuesday evening, my phone buzzing as I debugged code late at the office. "Paige, we need you at the house this weekend," she said, her voice tight. "It's important family business." I asked what it was about, but she sidestepped. "Just come. We'll talk then." That vagueness set my nerves on edge. Mom wasn't one for small talk, but this felt different, almost calculated. I thought about saying no, but curiosity, and maybe a flicker of hope, got the better of me. I agreed, though. My gut told me something was wrong. The unease grew as I replayed Cole's recent behavior. A few weeks back, he'd texted me out of nowhere asking about my savings. "Just curious," he said when I pushed back. His tone was too casual, like he was fishing for something. I remembered another time months earlier when he joked about me being the family's cash cow. The comment stung, but I let it slide. Now it felt like a warning. Mom's call paired with Cole's odd vibes made me wonder what they were planning. I couldn't shake the feeling I was walking into a trap. Still, I prepared for the trip. I wrapped up my work week, pushing my app project ahead of schedule to clear my mind. My coworkers noticed my distraction, one even asking if I was okay. I forced a smile, said it was just family stuff, but inside I was bracing for impact. I'd spent years building my life brick by brick, and the thought of my family trying to tear it down again made my stomach twist. I told myself I'd hear them out, but I wouldn't bend, not this time. As I packed a small bag for the weekend, I kept circling back to Mom's words, family business. They echoed like a bad omen. My independence, my career, my peace. It all felt at risk. I didn't know what they wanted, but I knew it wasn't just a friendly dinner. Cole's shifty behavior and Mom's cryptic tone were pieces of a puzzle I didn't want to solve, but I had to face it. One fall evening, I drove to the suburban house, not knowing it'd be my last time stepping through that door. Walking into that suburban house, I braced myself for whatever my family had planned. I'm Paige Bryant, and that evening in October, I stepped into a showdown I'd been dodging for years. The dining room crackled with tension as I sat down. Dad Dennis Bryant loomed at the head of the table, his eyes hard. Mom Kathleen Bryant hovered over the dishes, her glances sharp and expectant. My little sister Zoe Bryant stared at her plate, her fingers restless. My older brother Cole Bryant lounged back, a smug smirk curling his lips. The others, cousins, an aunt and uncle, fixed their gazes on me, their silence heavy. I pushed food around my plate, my pulse quickening with every forced word. Midway through the meal, Dad slammed his fist on the table, the sound like a gunshot. "Paige," he snapped, "you owe this family. Co-sign the $270,000 loan to buy your brother's house. Do it now." The words landed like a hammer. The room went still, glasses clinking as hands froze. Mom's head tilted in a subtle nod, her expression tight. Zoe's eyes flicked up wide with anticipation. Cole's smirk grew as if he'd already sealed the deal. The rest of the table watched, waiting for me to buckle, just like I'd done countless times before. I drew a deep breath, their stares pressing into me like a vice. They thought I'd sign away my future hand over my name to back Cole's dream home. But I was done being their fallback. I leaned forward, meeting Dad's glare. If family is everything, I said, my voice cold, and even then, I'm only giving back what you taught me. The words cut through the silence sharp as a blade. Dad's face flushed. This isn't a choice, Paige, he growled. You're co-signing for Cole's house, or you're betraying us. Cole leaned in, his tone dripping with mockery. Don't be so stingy, sis. It's just your name on a paper. Mom's voice followed, soft but piercing. We've always supported you, Paige. This is how you repay us. Zoe shifted uncomfortably but said nothing, her silence louder than words. I shoved my chair back, the screech echoing in the hushed room. Supported me, I shot back. When I paid your utilities, when I funded Zoe's college, or when you let Cole squander thousands while I scraped by, Dad opened his mouth but I didn't let him speak. I'm not co-signing anything. Not for Cole's house, not for any of you. Murmurs rippled across the table, but I was past caring. Cole's smirk faded, his eyes narrowing. Mom's face crumpled, her hands twisting together. Zoe looked torn, her fingers gripping her fork. I grabbed my bag and stood. Dad's voice boomed. Walk out that door and you're done with this family. I stopped at the threshold, turning to face them. Family, I said. You taught me family demands and takes. I'm done giving. Cole surged forward, his voice low and venomous. You'll pay for this, Paige. I held his stare. Go ahead and try, I said, my voice steady, and stepped out. The night air hit me like a wave as I walked to my car. My heart raced, but it wasn't fear, it was freedom. They'd tried to chain me to Cole's reckless ambitions, to a house I'd never live in, with a loan that'd haunt me for years. But I'd broken free. Cole's threat lingered, and Mom's cryptic call from days ago now screamed of a setup. I knew they'd come for me, but I wasn't the same Paige who'd bent to their will. I'd built my own life, and no one was going to drag me back. As I pulled away, the house faded in my mirrors. I didn't know their next move, but I was ready to protect what was mine no matter what they threw at me. The dining room went silent, and I walked out that door knowing there was no going back. Leaving that house was like breaking free from a cage, and that night I took the first real step to protect what I'd built. Back in my Memphis apartment, I didn't waste a second. I opened my laptop and pulled up the shared bank account my family had been draining for years. It was a relic of my misguided loyalty, a lifeline they'd abused without hesitation. No longer. With steady hands, I logged in, froze their access, and transferred every dollar of my money to a new private account. I changed every password, double-checked every setting, and hit confirm. My pulse raced, not from doubt, but from determination. By midnight, I'd severed their last grip on my finances, ensuring they'd never touch my savings again. The next morning before dawn, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I let it ring, already suspecting what was coming. Voicemails flooded in one after another. I didn't listen, but I knew the chaos had begun. My older brother, Cole Bryant, had been leaning on that shared account to dodge his debts. Without it, his house of cards was collapsing. A text from a cousin later that day confirmed it. The bank had called the family at first light, flagging overdue accounts. Cole's personal loans, piled up from his reckless spending, were unraveling. Creditors were circling, and he had no one to cover for him. My phone kept vibrating with calls from Mom, Dad, and Zoe. Each one felt like a hook trying to reel me back. Mom's voicemails were gentle at first, urging me to call back and sort this out. Dad's were gruff, ordering me to stop this nonsense and help your brother. Cole's were pure venom, accusing me of ruining his life. I deleted every message without a reply. They'd treated me like a cash machine for too long. Their words couldn't sway me now. I was done being their safety net. At the office, I dove into my coding projects with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. My app, a sleek interface for a retail client, was days from launch. I pored over lines of code fixing bugs and refining features, letting the work anchor me. A colleague noticed my focus, joking about my laser energy. I gave a small smile, keeping the truth to myself. The weight of my family's demands was gone, replaced by a lightness I hadn't known I could feel. For the first time, I was living for myself, not them. Meanwhile, Cole's world was imploding. My cousin's updates painted a grim picture. Debt collectors were relentless, demanding payments for loans he'd taken to fuel his real estate empire. He'd banked on me co-signing that $270,000 loan to buy his dream house, a safety net to keep his schemes afloat. My refusal had left him exposed, and now the bills were due. I felt no guilt. He'd built his life on my money and his lies, and the consequences were his to face. I stuck to my routine, rising early to code, ignoring the barrage of calls. Each unanswered message was a step toward reclaiming my life. I knew Cole's threat from the dinner wasn't idle. He'd try something to drag me back. But I was prepared. I'd given them everything for years, from utility bills to college tuition, and got nothing but demands in return. Now I was guarding my peace, my work, my future. As the days passed, I checked my new account daily, ensuring it was secure. I contacted my bank to flag any unusual activity just in case. The freedom of knowing my money was mine alone was exhilarating, like stepping into sunlight after years in shadow. I didn't know what my family would do next, but I was ready to stand my ground. That morning, as the bank called them, I sat still, knowing I'd made the right choice. Cutting my family off felt like reclaiming my life, and by the end of that week, their world began to crumble under the weight of their own choices. A few days after I locked the shared account, the fallout hit hard. My parents, Dennis Bryant and Kathleen Bryant, got a notice from the bank their house was facing foreclosure. They'd taken out loans years ago, pouring money into my older brother's failed ventures, Cole Bryant's so-called businesses that never saw a dime of profit. The bank's letter was blunt: payments were overdue, and the clock was ticking. Their suburban home, the one they'd leaned on me to sustain, was slipping away. My phone lit up with a call from Mom that afternoon. Her voice trembled as she begged Paige, "You have to help us save the house. Open the account again, please." I stayed silent, letting her words hang. Dad called next, his tone a mix of anger and desperation. "This is your family's home. Don't let it go because of your pride." I didn't respond. Their pleas felt like echoes of the dinner where they'd demanded I co-sign Cole's $276 loan. I'd already drawn my line. I wasn't stepping back over it. Then came a text from my little sister, Zoe Bryant. It was different, hesitant. "Sis, what's going on? Did Cole really mess things up this bad?" Her words caught me off guard. Zoe had always been caught in the family's web, but now she was questioning Cole's actions. I stared at the message, tempted to reply, to tell her how he'd squandered everything, but I held back. Explaining would only pull me back into their chaos, and I was done with that. Cole's failures were the root of it all. My cousin's updates filled in the gaps. His real estate empire was a sham built on loans he couldn't repay and promises he couldn't keep. The bank's call to the family days earlier had exposed his unpaid debts, and now the foreclosure notice tied Mom and Dad's fate to his mistakes. They'd bet everything on him shielding his recklessness while expecting me to clean up the mess. I felt a flicker of pity for Mom and Dad, but it faded fast. They'd enabled Cole, ignored me, and now they were paying the price. I kept my distance, letting their calls pile up unanswered. Mom's messages grew more frantic, begging me to think of the family. Dad's turned sharper, accusing me of abandoning them. Cole didn't call, but I knew he was scheming, probably blaming me for his collapse. I deleted every voicemail, every text, without a second thought. Their drama wasn't my responsibility anymore. At work, I stayed focused, pouring my energy into my app's final testing phase. My team was prepping for the launch, and I thrived in the structure of code and deadlines. A coworker asked why I seemed so calm despite the family stuff I'd mentioned before. I shrugged, saying it was handled. In truth, I was savoring the quiet, my phone's silence when I blocked their numbers, the peace of a life no longer tethered to their demands. Zoe's text lingered in my mind, though. Her doubt about Cole was new, a crack in the family's blind loyalty. I wondered if she'd dig deeper, but I couldn't afford to get involved. I'd spent years being their fixer, and every time I'd given in, it cost me more than money. Now I was protecting my own stability, my own future. I checked my private account daily, ensuring it was secure. I'd also called my bank to set up alerts for any suspicious activity just in case Cole tried something desperate. Their house might be on the line, but my life wasn't. I wasn't going to let their mistakes pull me under again. Standing my ground felt like claiming my freedom. And the following week, my family's desperation turned into something uglier. It started with a post I didn't see coming. My older brother Cole Bryant took to social media spinning a lie that I'd gone bankrupt and was dodging my debts. His posts spread fast, painting me as a deadbeat who'd left the family high and dry. Then he went further, trying to open bank accounts in my name. I found out when my bank flagged suspicious activity. My parents, Dennis Bryant and Kathleen Bryant, piled on, posting their own attacks. Mom wrote about how I'd abandoned them in their time of need, while Dad called me ungrateful, claiming I'd turned my back on family values. Their words stung, but not enough to shake me. My best friend Lindsay Carter called me that evening, her voice sharp with urgency. "Paige, you need to see this," she said, forwarding screenshots of Cole's posts. She'd been monitoring their accounts, knowing they'd lash out after I cut them off. "They're trashing you online, and Cole's trying to mess with your finances. You need a lawyer now." Her warning hit hard. I'd expected pushback, but not this, a calculated attempt to ruin my reputation and hijack my identity. I didn't hesitate. The next morning, I called the Memphis police and filed a report about Cole's attempts to open accounts in my name. The officer took my statement, noting the bank's alerts as evidence. I explained how Cole's lies were tied to his financial mess, how he'd expected me to co-sign his $270,000 loan and bail him out. The officer advised me to lock my credit, so I contacted the major credit bureaus Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, and placed a freeze on my accounts. It was a simple step, but it felt like raising a shield. No one was getting through to my finances again. Lindsay kept me updated, sending more screenshots as my family's posts grew nastier. Mom's latest rant called me selfish, claiming I'd left them to lose their home. Dad's posts were colder, accusing me of betraying the family that raised me right. Their followers, distant relatives, old neighbors chimed in, spreading the narrative. I didn't read the comments. I knew the truth. They'd leaned on me for years, and now they were twisting the story to save face. I stayed off social media, refusing to engage. Responding would only fuel their fire, and I wasn't about to give them that power. Instead, I focused on work, diving into the final tweaks for my app's launch. My team was buzzing with excitement, and I let their energy pull me forward. A coworker asked if I was okay, noticing my quiet focus. "Just handling some personal stuff," I said, keeping it vague. The office was my sanctuary, a place where I controlled the outcome, not them. Lindsay's advice about a lawyer stuck with me. I reached out to a local attorney who specialized in identity theft and defamation. During our call, I laid out everything: Cole's fake accounts, my parents' posts, the years of financial misuse. The attorney was calm, but direct. "You've got a strong case, but it'll take time. Keep records of everything." I started saving every screenshot Lindsay sent, every bank alert, every police report. It was my armor, proof that I wasn't the villain they wanted the world to see. Cole's lies and my parents' attacks were their last attempt to drag me back. They thought they could shame me into opening my wallet again, but I was done. I'd locked my finances, reported their actions, and protected my name. Their words couldn't touch what I'd built: a career, a life, a future I'd fought for. One morning, Lindsay called, her voice tense, warning me they'd gone too far. Their attacks couldn't hold me back. And the next month, I left Memphis behind for a fresh start in Nashville, Tennessee. I packed light, taking only what mattered: my laptop, a few clothes, and the resolve to build a life on my terms. Nashville was vibrant, a city pulsing with opportunity, far from the weight of my family's drama. I settled into a small apartment, its clean lines and quiet corners, a stark contrast to the chaos I'd left. My app launched successfully, earning praise from my team and clients. Work became my anchor, a space where I shaped my future without their interference. I wanted the truth out, but not through their toxic social media battles. So I recorded a video, calm and clear, laying out the facts: how my family had misused my money for years, how Cole Bryant had tried to trap me with a $270,000 loan, how their lies about my bankruptcy were a desperate smear. I sent it to my best friend Lindsay Carter, asking her to share it with relatives who'd been fed their stories. I didn't post it myself. I didn't need to. Lindsay's network was enough to spread the word, and soon whispers reached me that the family's credibility was crumbling. Cole and the family paid a price for their actions. Lindsay's updates confirmed it. Their posts lost traction as relatives questioned their narrative. Cole's real estate empire was exposed as a fraud, leaving him drowning in debt. My parents, stripped of their house and reputation, faced a community that no longer trusted them. Their financial ruin was their own doing, built on years of enabling Cole's schemes while ignoring me. I felt no satisfaction, only relief that their hold on me was gone. A text from my little sister Zoe Bryant came one evening. "Sis, I'm sorry," it read. "I didn't know the whole story." Her words were heavy, laced with regret, but I didn't reply. Zoe had stood by while they pressured me, and though her doubt about Cole was a step, it came too late. I wasn't angry, but I wasn't ready to reopen that door. My silence wasn't punishment, it was protection, a boundary I'd learned to set. The lesson hit me hard. Independence was my only shield against manipulation. For years, I'd let guilt and loyalty pull me into their chaos, thinking family meant sacrifice. But they'd taught me that family could exploit, demand, and betray. Walking away, locking my accounts, and standing firm showed me I could thrive without their approval. My career, my peace, my choices. They were mine now, untouchable. I kept my routine steady, coding by day, exploring Nashville's streets by evening. The city's energy fueled me, from coffee shops to quiet parks where I could think. I checked my accounts regularly, ensuring the credit freeze held. The police case against Cole was moving slowly, but my attorney assured me we had enough evidence. I didn't need revenge, just the security of knowing I'd protected myself. Lindsay stayed in touch, my one link to the past worth keeping. She'd call with updates, her voice warm with pride for how far I'd come. I didn't talk much about the family anymore. They were a chapter I'd closed, their shadows fading with each step I took in my new life. December came, and I stood on my new apartment's balcony, free from their shadows.